So today is D-Day in the WNBA. It is D-Day, and in my opinion, we have got a situation where we have now got players that are being cut that are legitimately good. Like, this isn't a situation where it's like, oh yeah, Marta Suarez got cut and she's not going to do anything. We've now got a situation where in the last 3 hours, I believe 3 players got cut. That if the Indiana Fever don't sign any of the 3, it's malpractice. It is malpractice. The Fever don't need Shatori Walker-Kimbrough.
Right in that shocking moment, Stephanie White stood stunned as the waiver wire suddenly revealed the one player capable of transforming Caitlin Clark's rookie season into a true championship chase. Yet the Indiana Fever front office remained completely silent, turning what should have been a golden opportunity into a baffling breakdown that had analysts practically yelling at their screens. And as the league scrambled to recover from the chaos of a D-Day-like situation, the ideal missing piece for Caitlin's offensive system was sitting there within reach, making the tension in the room almost unbearable as reality hit hard, because if this chance slipped away, their entire season plan could instantly fall apart, marking a moment of undeniable basketball mismanagement that went unnoticed until the damage was nearly done.
That if the Indiana Fever don't sign any of the 3, it's malpractice. It is malpractice. The Fever don't need Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. There are 3 power forwards that have been cut. There have been 3 power forwards. The GOAT got cut, but I will say this, Raven Johnson a better option. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth, but Raven Johnson a better option. Amy Okonkwo got cut by Dallas. Amy Okonkwo is a 6'3" forward. And she's big, she's strong.
Right now, the
rebounds.
WNBA has been thrown into a full-blown D-Day scenario, and the aftermath feels nothing short of historic, far beyond routine roster cuts where unnoticed players quietly exit. Because this time, genuine high-impact talent is suddenly hitting the market in a way that feels completely unprecedented. And within just the past few hours, the entire league landscape has shifted dramatically as 3 major power forwards were unexpectedly released. Not just bench fillers but proven starters and core rotation pieces capable of reshaping the floor, creating an atmosphere charged with opportunity for a bold roster steal. Yet for Indiana, the urgency feels more like a ticking deadline, with the chance to act slipping away faster than a fast break layup on a championship stage.
I will say this, Raven Johnson a better option. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth, but Raven Johnson a better option. Amy Okonkwo got cut by Dallas. Amy Okonkwo is a 6'3" forward, and she's big, she's strong, she rebounds, and she shoots. Last season, she only played 8 games for the Wings, and it was her first stint in the W. She averaged 11 points per game. Did it on 50% shooting from the field, 90% from the line, and 33.
In a move that instantly sent shockwaves through the coaching staff, Amy Okonkwo's unexpected release from the Dallas Wings left everyone questioning the logic behind it, because the numbers simply don't add up. She's a 6 feet 2 inches force who controls the boards and can stretch the floor with ease, coming off a season where she averaged 11 points per game while shooting an efficient 50% from the field and an incredible 90% from the free throw line, bringing size, strength, and the exact offensive versatility the Fever need to ease the burden on Caitlin Clark. And watching a talent like that get cut felt like tossing away a guaranteed win, making it a dangerous risk for a team like Indiana to overlook a player who could solve their interior problems overnight.
She is. Can you imagine Damiris Dantas, but doesn't have that once in a season ability to go 4 or 5 from 3, and Dantas might have already used her once in a season, but better at every other aspect of basketball, and on a minimum contract for 3 more years. On a minimum for 3 more years. Let's not forget that. You don't have to pay her for another 3 seasons. Not only that, she is somebody that has played with Caitlin Clark on Team USA teams, as far as I'm aware. She also was in 2024 projected initially.
What makes this situation even more unbelievable isn't just last season's production. It's what it means for the franchise's future, because Okonkwo's contract status turns this into a potential steal, with the Fever able to secure her on a minimum deal for the next 3 full seasons. and in a league where managing the salary cap feels like a high-stakes chess match, landing a proven double-digit scorer on a reserve rights minimum contract is the kind of hidden gold teams dream about. Especially when she just put up 8 points against the Las Vegas Aces days ago, showing she can still compete at the highest level right now, and Stephanie White clearly understands that these are the moves that shape dynasties, which makes Indiana's front office hesitation look even more puzzling as a golden opportunity slips right past them.
I was watching them play when they were losing every game. And I was watching them like, obviously Paige was good. The next best player on the team, I'm like, man, Kayla Charles has something about her. She just has something about her. She plays hard, she's smart, she does all the little things. I'm like, she's good, she's real good. And I was like, pushing, I was like, man, she should be starting over Dijonay. And then out of nowhere, she gets cut. And it's like, what the fuck's going on here? People are like, oh no, they're going to cut her because they're going to bring her back. And suddenly, Golden State snap her up. And now suddenly Kayla Charles is making $600k a year at Golden State. She's been so effective.
And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any crazier, Maddie Westbeld's sudden availability takes the situation to another level, because she's a 6 feet 3.5 inches stretch 4 who creates serious problems for any defense, proven by her explosive 25-point performance against the New York Liberty to close out her last season, showcasing her ability to score against elite competition while also serving as the perfect floor spacer who can keep driving lanes wide open for Caitlin Clark and remain a constant deep threat. And considering she was once projected as the 8th overall draft pick before choosing a super senior return, her talent, size, and shooting touch make her an immediate impact player, yet somehow she's left waiting in professional limbo, which becomes even more shocking when you realize her on-court chemistry with Clark is already established from their time together on Team USA, eliminating any adjustment period and allowing them to naturally complement each other's strengths, while her defensive upside and high basketball IQ make her an ideal fit for a fast-paced system, essentially offering Indiana a younger, more mobile upgrade over the veterans they continue to rely on. In moments like this, when you have the opportunity to pair your franchise cornerstone with someone she already trusts and who perfectly matches her timeline, hesitation simply isn't an option. You act before another team steals the chance, because Westbeld brings a more complete impact across nearly every area Indiana desperately needs, offering far more value than the current options the Fever continue to rely on. And while comparisons to veterans and past championship resumes may still be floated around, they don't outweigh present production or future upside, especially when building towards something sustainable like the model seen with the Las Vegas Aces. Yet even with the strong cases for Okonkwo and Westbeld, the biggest headline of the day belongs to Sika Khan, widely viewed by insiders as the ultimate must-have piece for Indiana, with many believing that allowing her to pass through waivers would border on outright front office negligence. And although she's returning from an ACL injury, her recovery has been remarkably impressive, using that time not just to heal but to study the game in depth, sharpening her basketball IQ to a level that now rivals some of the league's most experienced veterans. The moment she stepped onto the court against the Atlanta Dream, it became obvious she belongs in a contender's starting rotation, bringing the kind of true 3 and 4 wing presence this roster has been missing, a role nearly every team in the league has already secured except Indiana. And that's what makes the situation so hard to ignore, because if another team steps in and signs her, that's competition. But if she clears waivers untouched and returns, it raises serious questions about the front office's judgment, especially when you look at what Sika Khan actually brings. She's the type of player who impacts winning in ways the box score doesn't always capture. A 6 feet 2 inches force who can seamlessly switch between the 3 and 4, playing every possession with relentless effort, toughness, and high-level awareness that this frontcourt clearly lacks. And she's not some long-term project either. She's an immediate plug-and-play difference maker who can anchor a defense while providing efficient scoring, which is exactly what a team built around Caitlin Clark's offensive firepower needs to complete the puzzle, making the contrast with current options even more striking, as Indiana continues to rely on inconsistent, one-dimensional veterans, while Khan offers a far more complete and reliable impact across every area that truly matters right now. She is clearly the more complete player, offering stronger rebounding, greater defensive versatility, and a higher level of consistent engagement on every possession. And if the front office continues prioritizing underperforming veterans over a rising impact talent like Ka, it sends a troubling message about how committed they truly are to maximizing Caitlin Clark's rookie window and chasing a real championship, because passing on her could become a decision that lingers over the franchise for Years, especially when the usual justification of veteran leadership starts to fall apart under scrutiny, with references to players like Shaturi Walker-Kimbrough and a title won 7 years ago doing little to explain a lack of current production. While modern contenders like the Las Vegas Aces and New York Liberty have shown that sustained success comes from stacking hungry, high-impact contributors rather than relying on past accolades, making it clear that Indiana already has more than enough veteran presence, and what they actually need is immediate, winning-level production on the floor. They already have pieces like Erica Wheeler, Aaliyah Boston, who plays with a veteran's poise despite her age, plus Sophie Cunningham's finals experience and Katie Lou Samuelson's steady, experienced presence. So the idea that Indiana still needs more mentors sitting on the bench doesn't really hold up anymore. What they actually need are athletes who can keep up with Caitlin Clark in transition and finish plays at the rim. And that's why the argument to hold roster spots for names like Chitori Walker-Kimbrough over a dynamic talent such as Sika Khan feels increasingly questionable, because this moment is less about nostalgia and more about building forward, and the veteran leadership justification is starting to look like a cover for poor roster management, especially if Khan clears waivers and lands with a rival like the Chicago Sky, which would be seen as a major missed opportunity for Indiana, considering she brings multi-level versatility, guard depth, wing flexibility, and front-court support all in one, allowing her to slide into a 3 and 4 role that stabilizes rotations and strengthens defense, something every contender in the league already has except the Fever, and now that they have a chance to correct that imbalance, the pressure on the front office is intensifying, because this isn't just about one player or one roster decision, it's about the identity they are building around a generational prospect, and if they stand still while these opportunities disappear, it will feel like a clear signal of accepting mediocrity instead of pushing toward a championship future. The talent is there, the financials work, and the fit is undeniably clean, leaving the Indiana Fever with fewer and fewer excuses as the league continues to evolve into a new era where size, shooting, and defensive versatility define success, and players like Amy Okonkwo, Maddie Westbelt, and Sika Khan perfectly represent that shift as modern two-way contributors built for a high-octane system led by an elite passer like Caitlin Clark, who consistently draws multiple defenders the moment she crosses half-court, creating opportunities that demand teammates who can catch in traffic, finish through contact, and punish help defense with open shooting, something all three have already shown they can handle at a high level, making it even more frustrating for fans to imagine those chances being wasted while the roster remains unoptimized and defensive gaps allow opponents to load up on Clark, especially when the solutions are sitting right there in waiver availability, ready to transform spacing and create nightmare matchups with Westbeld stretching the floor, Okonkwo cutting inside, and Clark manipulating defenses. Yet instead of building that pressure, the Fever risks standing still while time runs out, and as silence continues from the front office during this critical window, the possibility grows that another team will seize the moment and turn hesitation into long-term regret, because in the end, this is exactly the kind of decision point where franchises either evolve, or get left behind. This is the moment where a franchise proves whether it is truly committed to winning or just going through the motions, because anything less than an aggressive, forward-thinking approach to roster construction feels like a disservice to the level of talent already on the floor, especially when one of the most glaring issues for Indiana remains its defensive identity, where outside of Aaliyah Boston the interior protection has been inconsistent at best and vulnerable at worst, leading to easy layups and far too many second-chance opportunities for opponents, and that is exactly where Sika Khan's presence becomes transformative, not just as a shot blocker but as a disruptive interior force who changes angles, deters drives, and dominates the glass with relentless physicality, and when you imagine her pairing with Boston, the result is a frontcourt capable of anchoring one of the most formidable defensive cores in the league, instantly shifting the entire game dynamic and giving Caitlin Clark the freedom and confidence to operate more aggressively on offense knowing the back line is secured, reinforcing the bigger reality that Indiana is no longer in a rebuilding phase after drafting Clark. They are in a win-now window where every roster decision must reflect championship urgency rather than long-term patience. Keeping players who cannot consistently deliver in high-leverage moments is a luxury no contender can afford, especially when expectations have already shifted toward winning and not just marketing success, because fans aren't showing up only for jerseys anymore, they're demanding a team that can genuinely compete for championships. And by overlooking elite talent on the waiver wire, the front office risks sending the message that they may not be fully prepared for the pressure that comes with having a superstar like Caitlin Clark, which is why this is the moment to act decisively, take calculated risks, and bring in players who elevate the roster immediately rather than slowly developing it, and if Stephanie White were in that position she would likely be pushing hard for Sika Khan, understanding that championship windows are short and every advantage matters, especially when the current WNBA landscape is offering exactly the type of complementary pieces Clark needs in one cycle. Because this isn't just media hype, it's a real roster-building opportunity that aligns perfectly with how modern contenders are constructed, and with that level of talent suddenly available, Indiana has a rare chance to position itself at the forefront of this league-wide shift instead of reacting to it after the fact. They now hold the most valuable asset in the league in Caitlin Clark, and that alone should completely redefine how every single roster decision is made, because when you have a generational talent like that, the margin for patience disappears and the focus immediately shifts toward urgency, fit, and execution, not long-term experiments or sentimental roster choices. This is a rare window where everything aligns at once: elite attention, elite expectations, and elite opportunity, and it brings with it a chance to surround Clark with some of the most overlooked but high-upside talent in the league, players who may not always dominate headlines but absolutely impact winning in real time. This is not a situation that comes around often, and it certainly doesn't stay open for long, which is why it demands bold, decisive leadership from the front office rather than hesitation or conservative thinking, because the era of slow building is already over the moment Clark stepped onto the floor. Indiana can no longer operate like a developing franchise trying to find its identity. It has already found it, and now it must act like a contender every single day. That means prioritizing fit over reputation, production over reputation, and chemistry over comfort. What makes this moment even more important is how clearly the league is shifting towards speed, spacing, versatility, and two-way impact, where teams that fail to adapt get exposed quickly, and teams that do adapt rise into contention almost overnight. In that environment, surrounding Clark with high IQ, multi-positional, defensive-minded players becomes not just ideal but necessary, because her offensive gravity demands teammates who can punish defensive attention immediately, whether that's cutting into space, finishing through contact, or stretching the floor with confidence. Without that, even generational playmaking can be neutralized. This is why the Caitlin Clark era cannot be built on caution or outdated assumptions about veteran hierarchy alone, but instead must be constructed around a modern, fast-paced identity where every piece complements her strengths and hides none of her pressure points. The roster has to evolve into something dynamic, switchable, and aggressive on both ends of the floor, because anything less limits what she can actually unlock as a franchise centerpiece.